You Only Live Once, one of my short stories. Seagulls swooped searchingly over the sea. Waves crashed lazily on the beach in the cool early morning breeze. If I could freeze a moment in time, this would be it. Tyler closed her eyes for a split second, embracing the feeling of freedom. Wind rushing through her hair, the water splashing up at her face as she galloped with unabandoned glee through the retreating low tide of the deserted beach. "What a rush, Sebastian," she shouted happily, affectionately patting the horse on his neck, as she remembered how stuck her life had been feeling lately. Getting older is definitely not for sissies. She had just celebrated her 50th birthday, and life had been quite mundane until now. Tyler had always loved horses, but had last been riding 5 years ago when she had injured her knee after being bucked off on a stormy day. Work life had become extremely busy, traveling to various neighboring countries as a project consultant, 3 weekends a year, and daily office hours of 7 to 3 p.m. Her alarm was set for 5 a.m., but she always woke at 4:30 to the sound of the birds chirping outside her window. Home life kept her just as busy, fetching and dropping her adult son to and from his waitering job in the evenings, and visiting her 2 married daughters on alternate weekends, gardening, cooking, and caring for her 2 beloved Great Danes. Time seemed to fly by. Life was full. She had lost a mom earlier that year, and her ex-husband had died in a car crash a few years back. It all seemed so surreal. So many people who had been part of her life for so long were suddenly no longer there. Today she decided she would treat herself. After unsaddling her horse, brushing him down briskly, and turning him out into the large tree-filled paddock at the local stables, she showered and headed for the beach restaurant for brunch with her 2 girlfriends she hadn't seen in quite some time. Normally she would spend most of the day alone at the stables, cleaning tack, brushing down her horse thoroughly, picking out his hooves, and just spending time with him. She would chat contentedly about her dreams and goals, as if he was her best friend. Yes, even at 50 she had dreams, and Sebastian was the best listener. No judgments, no retorts of reality. The ideal man, she laughed to herself. Tyler parked her car under a towering palm tree near the restaurant and felt a pang of excitement at seeing her friends again. It had been at least a year since they'd all managed to get together simultaneously. She ambled lazily up the winding wooden pathway, the scent of freshly baked rolls wafting down from the cozy timber-framed restaurant. Blue and white beach umbrellas dancing softly in the gentle mid-morning breeze. The sound of ocean waves softly crashing on the rocks below the overhanging restaurant deck. Gentle sounds of soft jazz that she loved so much seemed to have a calming effect on her mood. Tyler scanned the inside of the restaurant. Her friends weren't here yet. "I'm early as usual," she mumbled to herself, smiling at the waiter who was approaching with menus tucked under his arm, a black apron tied around his slender waist. He was young, good-looking, and athletic. Probably a surfer, she found herself thinking absent-mindedly. She couldn't decide whether she felt sad or amused at the fact that younger, gorgeous men reminded her of her son. Age seems to do that to most women. It's as if suddenly you've shifted into the mature woman phase and will no longer feel attractive to men, especially the ones who used to set your heart fluttering when you were in your 20s or 30s. Sad, definitely a sad feeling, she decided with a smirk on her face. "Could I sit outside under the blue umbrella in the corner, overlooking the sea, please?" she instructed the tan Adonis lookalike, young waiter. She reminded herself with a twinkle in her eye. Nothing wrong with thinking your own thoughts, she pondered once again, addressing the waiter. "I have 2 other people joining me. Could I order something to drink while I wait?" The smiling waiter confidently pulled out a chair for Tyler, clearly admiring her sexy firm buttocks tucked into her blue jeans, her upper body draped in a chic blue boho top hanging just off one shoulder.
I'm Jake, and I'll be serving you this beautiful morning. Here's our cocktail menu for you.
Tyler tilted her slender sun-bronzed neck slightly. The chestnut hair cascaded down her shoulders, framing her mature features for an unusually innocent and provocative instant. Her jade-green eyes sparkled in appreciation of his unexpected attention. "Thanks, Jake. I'm not usually a cocktail drinker, but today, let's be daring. Something with a little tequila, mango, and definitely a maraschino cherry submerged in a delicious potion, please." She sipped slowly on her cocktail, gazing out at the waves, soaking in the calmness of it all. "Tyler!" 2 voices boomed her name in unison, wafting against the restaurant. All 3 friends ran and hugged each other in a noisy, flamboyant shrill of delight. "Amber, Shirley, I've missed you guys. You look great. How are things?" Tyler quizzed, noticing the sadness in Amber's eyes. "I was retrenched again," Amber retorted hastily. "But I've joined an online travel agency and earned my certificate, so things are looking up for me, it seems. I mean, what could go wrong? I'm single, 52, have no dependents, and I'm free to travel." In fact, I'm meeting a client here for an hour. I've booked a separate table over there in the far corner. Isn't it also exciting? Tyler and Shelley exchanged concerned glances. Amber was always such a trusting soul. It was miraculous that she had managed to escape harm throughout her life. Shelley had married her high school sweetheart 30 years ago. She was usually the mother in this friendship trio. Short blonde hair, blue eyes, toned, and always immaculately dressed. Today she adorned a pastel blue tailored suit with a floral blouse, kitten heel sandals, and a touch of bling, which sparkled daintily in the light. Owning her own catering business, mom to twins, currently completing their honours degrees in law, Shelley was definitely the most organised of the three. That's crazy, Amber. Are you sure it's safe? Shelley asked with motherly concern, only to receive an unimpressed glare from Amber. Yes, Mom, retorted Amber. It's safe. Anyway, you only live once, so have a little faith in me for a change. My new client is super hunky, by the way. Spencer Renfield. He's visiting from Australia. Doesn't the name just scream success? I have so many travel ideas for him. He specifically asked for a single Cape Town package. He runs his own import business and is considering expanding to our country. I'm planning wine tastings at 5 different farms, open air bus trip around the coast, art gallery tour, lunch at the 5-star restaurant, and a sunset cruise around the bay, for which I'll obviously book an extra ticket for myself, just to ensure he gets to know me better and realizes what an asset I am. Amber, unconvincingly trying to seem professional when we all knew she was always searching for that fairy tale love, and would not settle for anything less than a dream man. She was almost 6 foot tall, dark brown eyes, fiery red hair, curvaceous, flirty, and loved tight figure-punking clothes. Her blouse always buttoned a little too low to accentuate her ample, voluptuous bosom. Quite the tease, but once she got a man's attention, she became defensive and cocky, shunning any advances. It seemed like games we played to feel sexy and wanted. Confidence was not her forte, even though she faked it well. An hour flew by with their excited chit-chat and catching up. Amber mostly rambling on about what they thought of her client's travel itinerary she had created, and how she couldn't wait to invite them to her wedding, to which they all burst into roaring laughter. At that moment, a suave, tall, muscular, middle-aged man sat down at the table Amber had booked for her client.
Good day, mate.
He said to the waiter.
Bring me a beer while I wait for my guests, please.
Amber nearly fell backwards off her chair. She caught her breath and just stared open-mouthed at the beach-bronzed hunk. I can't do this, she stammered. Oh, Flip, I need to pull myself together. He's so gorgeous. The two friends chuckling at her unexpected reaction like a bunch of naughty teenagers. Amber approached the table at warp speed. Mr. Renfield? Amber, pleased to meet you. She grabbed his hand a little too over-eagerly, knocking all the cutlery on the floor. Immediately bending down to retrieve it, her head connected his crotch spot on, causing him to emit a loud, shrilling yell as he doubled over in pain. I'm so sorry, Mr. Renfield. I'm so terribly clumsy. Amber apologized as she waved her hands up in exasperation at her stupidity. The beer on the waiter's tray was sent flying, seemingly in slow motion, and tipping like a golden waterfall, splashing white foam all over the bronzed Mr. Renfield.
Well, I feel like I've been inaugurated into your country now. Any other hazing I need to be aware of, Amber?
Spencer Renfield was quite amused at Amber's endearing embarrassment. Tyler and Shelley sat in stunned silence, their hands over their mouths in shock, not knowing whether to laugh or cry at poor Amber's mishap.
Crikey.
Spencer uttered in sudden recognition.
Weren't you that lady whose car battery died because you forgot the lights on at the mall about 10 years ago? You asked me to jump you and I couldn't stop laughing. After I helped you, you drove off in a huff because you said I was rude. I'm so glad we met again. I've thought about you forever.
Spencer and Amber did get married 6 months later, just as she had jokingly speculated earlier. Shelley catered their wedding and Tyler designed her wedding invitations as wedding gifts for the day. They travelled the world just as Amber had always dreamt she would, and ran their businesses online together, quite successfully, despite the odd clumsy spell that occasionally overcame Amber. Life sometimes does begin in your 50s, Tyler mused. Shelley and her family moved to England and opened a coffee shop, while her twins opened their own law firm, not far from them. Tyler reminisced about her two friends and how life had taken them down such different paths. She often went to her beloved beach restaurant alone for brunch and had to watch the waves and lose herself in the fresh ocean breeze. It reset her occasional troubled soul to feel the cool breeze brush against her face, watching the seagulls swoop over the sea, mewing to each other in tuneful shrieks. Sipping her spearmint green tea and contemplating ordering some syrupy French toast, She suddenly decided to order something she and her son had eaten years ago when he was about 7. French fries dipped in a bowl of ice cream and chocolate sauce. That will hit the spot and retrieve some wonderful memories, she pondered happily. The order arrived and she thanked the waiter, eager to taste the icy sweet creaminess of the ice cream on the warm salty chips. Just as she was dipping her second chip, she peered up through her sunglasses, only to be locked into the gaze of a delightfully handsome, familiar face she remembered from many years ago. He too was dunking his chips in ice cream. How unbelievably coincidental, she thought to herself.
Tyler,
He called, not sure if it would really hurt.
I had no idea you shared my taste for the weird and wonderful pairings of food, too. May I join you?
Tyler smiled and beckoned him over. Sure, you only live once.